Joe Kennedy wanted to be president. He had a ton of money. He had a pretty good background. He was even ambassador to Great Britain, and he had his sights set on the presidency. Unfortunately, his loud public opinion that America should stay out of the war and even support Hitler made him a candidate that would never become president. And when Joe realized that some of his more vocal political views that were no longer acceptable in America had disqualified him from the presidency, he turned to his son, Joe Jr. Now, Joe Jr. was amazing. He was graceful and athletic on the fields of football and lacrosse. He was brilliant, very smart in school. He was great with people. Women adored him. Men looked up to him. He had that strong jawline. Joe had everything going for him. And Joe Sr. knew that Joe had what it took to become president. Well, during the war, Joe Jr. was a pilot. He would fly bombing missions into Germany. And when he heard about a secret mission, he signed up for it because he knew this was the perfect kind of thing that would just make him a shoo-in for the president. Well, this mission was there would be a bomber packed full of explosives set to detonate by remote. And what Joe was supposed to do was fly the plane right to the target and then bail out. And then while he was going down in his parachute, he was going to hit the remote, and the plane filled with all the explosives would blow up right on the target. Well, the frequency of the remote was the same frequency that the radar stations used in England. And the radar stations were supposed to be turned off as Joe flew his bomb-laden plane over them. But unfortunately, due to somebody making a mistake, the radar towers were still on and the plane blew up. There's no way Joe ever could have survived that explosion. Well, his father was devastated. And they turned to his middle son, Jack. And he put all of his presidential hopes on John F. Kennedy. Now, John F. Kennedy was nothing like his big brother. He was small and sickly. He was not as smart. He wasn't as quick. He wasn't as graceful. He was scrappy, but he just didn't seem like he was presidential material. But Joe put all of his hopes on John and said, all right, we're going to make you president of the United States. And the crazy thing is that John F. Kennedy did become president of the United States, even though he suffered terrible back pain his entire presidency. And as he was hitting the stump, shaking hands, he would be in so much pain. But he just kept pushing and pushing. And a big part of that push was he wanted to make his dad proud. I don't know if you can identify with Joe and Jack Kennedy trying to make their father proud, but there's something in all of us that looks at authority figures in our lives, whether it's our moms or our dads or maybe grandparents, and we just want to make them proud. We'll jump through hoops for them to earn their favor. And sometimes in a healthy relationship, things are great. You know, they accept us when we make mistakes, when we don't hit things perfectly. But some of us have relationships where we're never good enough. And where no matter how hard we try, we could always be better. You bring home the report card and they focus on the one B instead of all the A's. And many times we take that dysfunctional relationship and we connect it to our spiritual relationship. And we feel like God is the same way. We feel like, oh, I had such a great day, but then I cussed, but then I went back to my addiction, or I lost my temper, or I didn't do the right thing, or I wasn't good enough. And sometimes we see God shaking his head saying, I did everything for you. I died for you. I gave you all these blessings, and look how you're screwing it all up. And friend, today I just want to tell you that is so unhealthy and untrue. God is crazy about you, and he knows that you're not perfect. When Peter messed up, Jesus didn't kick him out. He said, Peter, let's go for a walk. And he took Peter down a beach. And instead of berating him for betraying him and making him look bad, he said, Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? And then he reinstated him. You see, the question isn't, are we good enough for God? The question is, do we love him? And our answer to that question is good enough for Jesus. So today, let go of being perfect. Let go of trying to earn God's favor. You don't have to become president to make Jesus proud. He loves you just the way you are. God bless.